Welcome to Nacho Fitness Coach. Two friends discuss all things fitness to bring knowledge and some opinions to you wherever you may be in your health journey. My friend Caleigh, the beginner, almost ran a 5K once, recently had her first protein shake, and is the proud owner of one set of 5-pound dumbbells.
And my friend Sara, the expert, grunts when she lifts, has race walked dozens of races, including a full marathon, and has 12 open protein tubs in the pantry. So let's get started.
So Caleigh, yesterday we were all at my son's birthday party.
Mm-hmm. Great party.
It was a great party.
Great party.
Your girls are the only two friends
that were invited
that my 4-year-old wanted to make sure was at
and they were
his party. Like
his siblings and my daughters.
He actually did name off our whole family, plus your girls.
Okay.
So, but we were there.
We were there.
And it was in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we could,
right,
get it in and move on with our day.
Right.
And we were downstairs celebrating, singing the kid happy birthday. And
right.
He was all excited about his airplane cake.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm cutting the pieces.
Right.
And we're handing them out. Kids first.
Doling them out.
Cake, ice cream.
Right.
The whole thing.
Right.
And we start handing them out to the adults.
Right.
And I tried to give you a piece.
And I said, no, thank you. I'm still fasting. And you rolled your eyes, the back of your head.
It was a big eye roll.
Right. What time was it? Could you remind our audience what time of day this was?
I mean, I think I counted it as breakfast.
We were at
it was 10 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock in the morning, right?
On a Saturday.
On a Saturday.
So, I mean.
Because that intermittent fasting is a thing I am doing, have been doing.
So let's talk about that.
Have I consulted a professional other than you, who you just roll your eyes at me? No, I haven't.
So let's go through the history of the whole idea for you for intermittent fasting.
How did it come?
Yeah, how did it
come to be?
How did it come
I don't know. It's a thing I've always known about.
Through your TikTok research.
From my TikTok research and other corners of the internet. It seemed to make sense to me because I felt like I was at a point where I needed to cut calories. I needed to eat less. And tell me if I'm wrong, but that's a decent way to lower your calorie count.
I mean, it's a strategy.
Right, throughout the day.
Sure.
So what I do is whatever time I quit eating dinner, I have an app, start my countdown. I'm doing a 16-8, which is an extreme.
So your 8 minutes or your 8 minutes.
I don't eat for 8 minutes every day.
So the 16 is what? The 16 is
16
your
is
eating?
fasting.
Oh, your 16 is your fasting. Okay.
Which 8 hours of that is sleeping.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say on a general day, I quit eating it. I have dinner at 7, done with dinner by 7. And then I do drink a green tea. Well, I drink an herbal tea before bed.
Okay.
And then I fast while I sleep. And then I wake up. I think I'm cheating. I don't think I've talked to you about this. I think I'm cheating with my pre-workout.
Oh, is it
before the
protein though, or is it
no,
just a pre-workout drink?
It's a sugary. I think one serving of my pre-workout is 4 cups of coffee.
That's intense. Wow.
For my 30-minute walk.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, you gotta get jazzed for that.
I get all jacked up.
Do you get jittery?
Yeah, and I don't. And what is it? The beta alanine that makes you itchy. My pre-workout doesn't have that.
Well, so if pre-workouts do make you itchy, a lot of times you're just dehydrated. So oftentimes if you just chug a bunch of water, if there is one that does make you kind of itchy, a lot of times if you drink, it'll take that away. But
okay, mine doesn't have whatever
it doesn't make you itch.
Ingredient that makes you itch.
I mean, I've had clients come before that are itching their arms because their pre-workout is just setting them into the next level, and they're all jittery and they can't focus. And
so I think technically my pre-workout. I think it
coffee.
Technically breaks my fast in the morning.
Probably.
But that's not a thing I'm willing to.
It's got calories in it, right?
Right. It's sugary. There are pre-workouts I've looked up that.
So then you should have had the cake.
I had already taken my pre-workout. It was 10 a.m. Who eats cake at 10 a.m.,
I did.
Sarah? You did. I saw you.
It was so good.
It looked really good. No, and this past month, so the month of December, I had a goal every day. I had 3 goals every day.
Okay.
To make my bed.
That's a good goal.
Do my 30 to 45 minutes on the treadmill every day. The only day that I missed was Christmas Day. And to finish out my 16 hours of fasting. Those were my 3 goals. I had a thing on my paper on my refrigerator. I marked them off every day. And so since I did that, before I did that, I was like, I would cut myself some slack. But that really like ingrained.
You had a chart.
It really like ingrained the whole like, which is interesting, really, when you think about it, like how much of a habit, how little time it actually takes to form a habit. Because ever since I did that, and now we're like a week into January, and I'm like, oh, I can't. Yeah. I can't eat before my 16 hours is up.
So how did you come up with the 16-8? Because in the intermittent fasting world, people will get very opinionated and very passionate about their ratio of
I didn't know that.
Hours that they fast. So where did you get your particular fasting?
From the app that I downloaded that had, I think it had several different hour intervals that you could do. The 16-8 was
like marked as the most popular.
Yeah. I don't know. It made sense. So I've been doing it. And then once the 16 hours is up, it's funny because the very first day I did it, I texted one of my friends and I said, I'm doing this fast. And she was like, that sounds stupid. Okay. It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. So somebody else has a similar opinion.
And she said then I just so happened, I said I can eat at 11. I can eat.
So you're basically just skipping breakfast.
Basically, which to be honest, I've never been a big breakfast eater. It wasn't hard. That's not hard for me to do. I'm not a breakfast eater. My body doesn't want food in the morning. But so I was talking to this friend and I was texting her in the morning and I said, I can eat at 11. Well, then I just so happened to be on the phone with her at 11. She's like, what are you doing?
I gotta go eat.
I'm eating a banana. She's like, oh, it's 11 o'clock. I'm like,
to the minute.
But now I'm kind of to the point. I'm not trying to like starve myself, but I've noticed that I have become much more comfortable. It's not an uncomfortable feeling anymore. Like that in the
you're
morning.
Not starving at the end.
No.
You've adjusted almost.
Yeah, I'm fine. And then, whenever my 16 hours is up, which is generally, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock, then I eat.
So how did you feel about telling a 4-year-old at his party that you weren't going to eat the cake? Was there any remorse or emotion?
Did I tell your 4-year-old? Did your 4-year-old
the 4-year-old's mom?
Did he give any? No.
You were uninvited for future birthdays. I'll take the cake. Fine.
Okay,
did you feel like was it difficult for you at all to have everyone else eating cake around you and you're like, I can't yet? Or was it okay? I mean, because that emotional and physiological side of it is a huge part of things.
If I would have eaten the cake, I would have eaten it because out of, I don't know, some sense of etiquette.
Sure.
Like I guess I'm at this party and they expect me to eat cake.
Would you have felt guilty then after that for breaking your...
Yes.
You felt guilty that way.
Yep.
But you didn't feel guilty by saying no.
No.
That's good.
What we did do after we left the party...
At 11:35.
Noonish.
Well, okay, they played a little bit.
Okay, so my fasting was up. Me and my family went to Pizza Hut.
Yep.
And I forked down a whole chicken Alfredo pasta with 5 breadsticks, and I ate a little bit of my 5-year-old's pizza. So,
and you just
it's all about balance.
I got the fast in for the 16 hours.
But I did the 16 hours.
But it does help. It does help with calorie control.
Yeah.
So it is a strategy.
I just know that I'm the kind of person that if I let myself it's only been 14 hours. If I let that be the norm, then that will be the norm. Yeah. And I guess I'm like, what's the point in saying I'm doing this thing?
Technically, everyone does fast between supper, unless you're getting up and you're like a midnight eater or something. I mean, most people, they stop eating at like the end of the day and then you have your evening and you go to bed. So like, I mean, most people probably have a solid 12-ish hour window, give or take.
Can we talk about the day about a month ago that I texted you? Because I was on it was when my 16-hour fast was a hard goal. Like I couldn't break it.
Right, because it was December.
It was December, and so there was no, like, in my mind, the way that my mind works is like if I set that goal, I'm doing it. And so at one night, weekend night, my husband and I had some drinks,
Saturday night.
Put the kids to bed. We had some drinks, watched some movies. I don't know. Somehow 2 a.m. rolled around, and we had decided, because we had Pizza Hut pizza in the refrigerator.
It's staple at our house too.
We were like, okay, let's go eat some pizza. 2 a.m. I knew what I was getting myself into.
Right. Which you technically hadn't started fasting yet then either, because you were still drinking alcohol.
Right.
Your Saturday was just kind of like bleeding into early Sunday morning.
Right. So 2 a.m. we ate pizza. And then when I put that into the app, I realized I wasn't going to be able to eat until 6 p.m.
on Sunday.
And I texted, I don't know what time I texted you, but I was like,
I feel like it was like noonish. Was it like the middle of the day?
Well, because I'm pretty sure I slept till 11, first of all.
Man, I need my kids to get older.
Yes. So I think, and I was like, I can't eat till 6. And it was hard.
Yeah,
it was really
you were
hard.
rough that day.
It was rough. I think
that does make it really hard.
But I did it.
You did it.
I was able to mark off and I can't remember what I ate that.
I was going to say, what did you do at 6 o'clock then?
I can't remember.
Was it a lot? You just made it.
I don't think it was a lot. Good. Whatever it was. I'm sure it was good.
sure it was good.
It's good.
I mean, that's like the crazy thing, that it's just one of those things where it's like, it works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. People get very passionate about this in like the different little communities and stuff. And so there ends up being this, and some people get, there's hormone things that can creep into it.
Right.
And, a lot of times you have to find like works best for you.
What I will tell you, I think it is working for me. We had this conversation before. Well, because I started running in July. I wasn't really losing weight. I started running at I think I was around 160 pounds.
Yep.
Dropped a little. I was hanging out in the 150s, whatever. When I started intermittent fasting, I mean, today I'm down to 143.
Yeah.
And I've been intermittent fasting for 3 months.
Yeah. Those definitely had some calorie control, or at least
but the
general
other
awareness into when you're putting food in your mouth.
Right. But the other thing that I cut out was drinking a twisted tea, which turns out has a few calories.
Just a few. Just some sugar, some calories.
So I switched to the high noons,
which is less calories.
Right. So I don't know. Somehow I got from 160 to 143.
Probably just an overall caloric deficit, which is helpful.
So it's working.
You got there.
I cracked the code. I cracked the code.
So now everyone just needs to listen to Caleigh for nutritional guidance and advice.
Turns out I'm the expert.
Just as long as you don't eat for 16 hours, you
don't
can
eat for 16
binge
hours.
on Pizza Hut.
Right.
And then
skip the cake, go to Pizza Hut.
and a story. We're good. Then all of a sudden you'll be 17 pounds later, and you can now become a social media influencer.
Right. And
share your diet.
Right.
And just say, hey, it's worked for me.
It's worked for me.
It's totally going to work
science.
for you.
That means it's science, right?
That does mean it's science.
What is your relationship / experience or opinion on intermittent fasting?
I love food way too much.
You're a breakfast eater.
I am a breakfast eater. I do enjoy breakfast. I am somebody that I want to get up in the beginning of the day and I want to eat. I've already not eaten since supper the night before. I do believe that there is something to having your metabolism working for you while you're sleeping.
Right.
Getting your overall your body composition to where you're using as many calories to just live through life as you possibly can.
Right.
And so there's been people that I've been influenced, in my career so far through different education courses, people that I've kind of accumulated. I'm these are the experts in these areas. I don't like to read white papers. I've just kind of latched onto people that are the researchers and be I believe what they say. they've already done the work
Right.
and like, we're just going to go. And so there was, oh man, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. Oh, at least 6. Cause I think it was before I was pregnant with my second one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's continuing education in the, you know, you got to keep your credentials up.
Right.
And you've got to get recertified. You've got to have continuing education to like keep your certifications going. And so I went to a fitness summit weekend where they flew speakers in from like all over,
Mm-hmm.
and they all did presentations on different things. And then kind of the same thing. I'm like, I connect with those people. I follow them on social media because the presentations they did were super high quality.
Right.
They showed research papers. They do all these different things. So there's one in particular that she is very highly regarded in the nutrition world, specifically like sports nutrition, which I have an interest in.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown up being an athlete. I was a collegiate athlete. So, you know, that's kind of always been my thing.
Right.
And she has been employed by like NFL teams, has this very decorated career in understanding nutrition as it relates to sports performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so she shared at one point the kind of Cliff's Notes version of, you know, that's perfect for social media, a research that had just came out that actually talked about your metabolism shifting, like it'll either speed up or slow down at any given moment throughout the day. Like a lot of people think about like, oh, this is, you know, how much I eat in a day, it changes my metabolism, or like a week or whatever. This research came out that it was your metabolism will either speed up or slow down at any given moment. And it starts to slow down if you get into a caloric deficit of, it can vary per person, but it was anywhere between 300 to 500 calories. So for me, I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I'm already in a calorie deficit because my body hasn't had any food and it's been keeping my organs awake while I've been sleeping, right? Because you're burning off just by living. And I was like, this is really fascinating because a lot of times people think of that as like a day or a week or like bigger chunks. And it was like any given moment. And I'm like, well, then how does this relate to like intermittent fasting? Or, you know, you have extended periods of time when you're not eating. You're like, okay, it could be slowing down anytime I'm getting into like this deficit, right? I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. I mean, she's highly regarded, has all this background, all the things. But it was kind of contradictory to somebody else that had done presentations at the exact same summit, that his specialty was with
Do you mean to tell me that information about fitness was contradictory?
Can you believe that? I mean, so how, so I'm like, so how is somebody ever supposed to know like what the real story is?
Right. That's why we're here. This is why we're here.
We're just going to cut through it and we're going to like give you the lowdown scoop. So there was somebody else that had done a presentation, and he is very specific. He's an obesity specialist. He's a MD doctor, has always been an athlete. So he prescribes, you know, nutrition and lifting weights and exercising for his patients. And so he had done a presentation. So again, I'm following her. And he's like, no, listen, you can have just 2 or 3 meals a day and it's fine. And I'm like, okay, these are both individuals that are highly respected.
Somebody else told me.
And I was like, okay, I'm really confused. Now here I'm the fitness professional. You guys both know what you're talking about, but this is why the internet is so confusing. Because you're saying it's okay if somebody only eats 2 or 3 meals a day. And you're over here saying anytime you have a deficit that's too big, your metabolism can start slowing down, which is not what you want. You want it to be faster. So you can burn more by eating more and live life with more freedom, right? So it's like, okay, I'm really confused. And so I messaged her because I was like, I'm really confused. Like, he does this, you say this, like whatever. And she goes, well, the research was done on 5 Olympic gymnasts. Okay, well, their activity is probably super high. Their muscle density is probably super. They're probably really crazy lean.
It does not pertain to me.
It's not
whatsoever.
like the normal person. But this is why internet's really hard, because until you peel back all the layers of the onion and, you know, pour a glass. It's like, this is how I feel about this conversation. We're gonna need a glass of wine. It's fine.
And that was a tangent from Sarah.
That is a bit of a tangent, but
that was a true
it
Sarah
was
tangent.
But it's
Our first one.
It's about
many more to come.
Many more to come.
But that's that's
it's
absolutely
intermittent fasting, though. So
what's frustrating is because what did I do? I Googled intermittent fasting and I found the information that I wanted to find. Essentially, I could have found information the other way. They've been like, "This is why you shouldn't intermittent fast."
And there you go. There's internet. That is my tangent. But that's how I feel about intermittent fasting.
Have you done it? Do you do it?
No.
Have you done it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I don't. Mostly because over the years I have learned more about like what the macros are.
Right.
And I can just look at a plate and know how much protein, fat, and carbs are probably in
and
it.
That's a thing. I've dipped my toe.
I mean, it's a lot more complex.
But
a more simple strategy definitely is just, putting some parameters around time that you can actually choose to eat or not. So I don't know. How do I feel about intermittent fasting? I mean, I think it can probably, it has worked for you. So it can work for some people.
I think it's working for me. I mean, could I have had the cake? Could I have had the 10 a.m. cake? Probably.
You've been fine. You wouldn't have been like the end of the world.
No.
That's actually that's what bothers me about intermittent fasting is when there's guilt around it.
Right.
Like if somebody is
nobody wants to be that guy. That's
right. So it's like, as long as you're not guilty and you're like, no, this is what I'm doing and it works for me and like, I'm totally fine. But like, if it gets to the point where you're like stressing out about it or being like, okay, now I can't, or like you're not going to social things because you're fasting.
Right. Well, that's when you start, that's when you start getting into an eating disorder.
And lots of other issues come around. And it's like, that's what you want to avoid.
Right.
With any of them that you choose. You want to find what works for you.
But I think before I did intermittent fasting, I think, had that same situation arose and I would have accepted the cake at 10 a.m., I would have felt guilty about that. Been like, who eats cake at 10 a.m.?
I do. We do. That's how we roll.
Who throws their 4-year-old's party at 9:30? You do.
Saturday morning.
You do.
Well, if his baby sister's going to come, like, I'm very particular about the schedule. And like,
I understand.
She's got to get down for a nap.
I get it.
I'm still in nap.
She's in bed for the day by
both of them are by like
3 p.m.
Well, the 4-year-old was in bed by 3:30 p.m. for like a whole year.
It was a wild party.
We are wild. We are wild. So yeah, so that's, that's how I feel about it. So we know what it is. We know how I feel about it.
Should I keep doing it?
I mean, do you love it?
I mean, it's fine.
So no. So do you hate it?
It's fine. I feel like I've been doing it long enough that it's become a comfortable routine. It's fine. I don't feel like I'm starving. So
if it works,
I think I'm gonna keep doing it.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
Okay. So you love it.
I love it.
I will probably never do it.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't want to say I hate it. But for me, like, I'll probably never do it. So
if it works,
it is.
All right.
There we go.
All.
Until next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. Be sure to let us know how you feel about the topic. Do you love it or hate it?
Also, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and of course, tell your friends. Until next time.
You've been listening to Euphony Innovatives Sonified.